Thanks everyone for joining today. Great to see such numbers and excited to share with you some of the latest news from Partel and hopefully give everyone an overview on. Can you tell me, Zach, is the screen okay?
Yeah, it's looking great. Thanks.
Great, thanks. Yes, we want to give you an overview today on, I suppose, the manufacturer's view about how we should be sealing buildings from the exterior. We'll associate that with some other system products. But if you like, it's a little bit of a look behind the scenes of how and why we should be using these types of products. We're going to be focused quite a bit on the exterior systems today. So that's the EXOPERM range. There's a few different products in that. That's the EXOPERM 150, 200, and 250. From those, we'll focus more on the self-adhered product, which is the 250. We'll tell you a little bit about the other ones just to give you an understanding of how and where. We're going to look a little bit more about the air tightness, some of the things we need to watch out for. And inform you about the technical support and services that we offer. So that part is pretty key to us. And as Zach said, we'll have a Q&A afterwards as well. So I'm CEO at Partel, as Zach has mentioned. Partel are an Irish company, extremely active in a number of regions. We have a number of what we call home markets. That's the UK, Ireland, and the US. We're also active in Canada, a number of European countries, and a few more starting to join us. I'm an engineer myself, and we are founded by engineers and architects, and that's still the core of our business. That part is really important for us, and we like that because it helps us or know we can understand your projects, your concerns, and quickly give useful answers. I would say the passion of the business is the building physics side of things, and that is borne out by the products that we bring to market. So that's always changing. We're taking feedback from you guys and evolving, and there's always lots of new things happening in that space. We do a significant amount of technical support, be it from distance or in person, and are very, very busy in the R&D side of things. So first off, why do we want to build airtight? These comments have been kind of talked about before, but I'd like to bring them up again because there's always something there that will resonate with some people that they may use for different clients. So, to lower energy costs is one that makes sense for everyone. To improve comfort levels can make more sense to somebody who has less of a focus on the running cost of a building, but really want to get that increased level of comfort. Indoor air quality is a huge thing, and it's just a growing awareness that we see every day. Air quality monitors become better, more affordable, more prevalent, and that's forcing people to understand a little bit more about their own air quality. What's a harmful VOC, PM5, 2.5, or PM 2.5 or 10. And the last one is structural integrity. And for me, that one is huge. That's getting the right build-up, getting the right vapor control layers in place. And there's a lot of focus in that in Passive House, so getting our layering correct. But a bigger killer of buildings and bigger durability is faults on the exterior. So that's our main focus for today. We're looking at the three key products, the EXOPERM 150, 250, and 200. They're essentially all applicable to walls and roofs, and we'll show a little bit more about that. But really, if we talk about our markets are already kind of dominated by timber, and that's increasing. So as we seek to reduce the embodied carbon, we're looking at more timber, and we need to be able to manage that. We get this maybe an over focus in Ireland on rain. It does force us to look at products differently and systems because the risk levels are really, really high. We get in some regions, 250 days per year with rain. That's driving rain as well. Driving rain is that wonderful rain that is horizontal and finds all of those leaks, and they can be a pinhole. But it's good, it teaches us a lot. The product really, they don't really get the focus, I think, generally in construction, but the membranes really determine the life of the building. So if we're looking to have a 60-year, 100-year, why not much longer? The type of products we choose and how we fit them really determine that. Um, these kind of slides that we look at, installation weather, I'm going to show you a graph in a couple of minutes, but it affects different types of construction. So this is our glue lamps and the CLTs, structural beams that we're going to see a lot more of. These really need to be protected from adverse weather conditions. Timber dries for sure, but it's a managed product and needs to be controlled. The next slides are what we're starting to see in modern methods of construction. So prefabricated panels, what do they look like when they're delivered to site and when they're installed? And moisture content changes from 13% to 20%. Often that can be enough to tip the drying point towards a construction that may not be able to dry enough. So we need to be careful on that kind of thing. These are a couple of images we took from a site visit for flat roof construction. They're much bigger issue. They can retain water and hold water. And again, quite easy to have permanent failures just because of something like this. So this could be a flat roof that the engineered wood, be it the OSB or plywood, has been allowed to get wet. If that isn't dry enough or the mold hasn't been dealt with before the building is closed in, that will be a failure. It might be 1 year, 2 year, 5 year. So there's ways around that. And that's just that general awareness that the timber moisture content needs to be kept dry. This is another thing we see quite a bit of, different forms of plastics. Could be a vapor control layer or temporary protection. So there's lots of reasons that's a bad thing, but one is that it's not breathable. So you see it used, it doesn't keep all of the moisture out, or there's some moisture in the construction, and you'll often see mold start to form behind that plastic on the gypsum boards behind it. So looking here, we've got a study from KTH University in Sweden where they were able to, there isn't a lot of studies available on this, but this is one that shows the variance in the CLT elements when they have been protected or unprotected. So graphs don't look all that different, but they're huge. The difference in the CLT at its worst, and it's an increasing figure, is up on 24, 25% if we choose not to cover it. This was for accumulated rain about 1/3 of what we get in Ireland, the same as what you might get in the New York area per annum. So enough to let you know that a CLT unprotected can run towards failure if we don't keep it dry. We also need to consider in engineered woods how they dry. They don't dry in the same way as a solid piece of timber. So there's glue layers, which means that our drying tends to be broken by the glued layers. And that's different in an OSB as it is to a plywood. And again, it just brings us back to the protection. We need to be more careful with those. So it could fail in a different way, but still be a failure. So the key product we're looking at today, we've demoed this at different talks in the accelerator, but we're a little further down the line, and we've had a really phenomenal uptake on this product and an acceptance in different markets, all types actually, from cold to the heat to the varied seasons. So it's a 6-layer product. Quite different from what's in the market. It's got a highly stabilized UV film on the top. That's a protection layer. It's got a monolithic breathable layer, and then which has another protective PP layer behind that. We've got an additional reinforced grid, an incredible adhesive that again is very different from what you see on the market. You probably need to see this product and use it to understand it, but it's got pretty much all of the main qualities that you want from a solid acrylic adhesive. It's got the tack of what you might know as dispersion acrylics, but it's not a dispersion. So critically, it's a type of adhesive that is water resistant, age resistant. So really, really important product towards getting a longevity or longevity in our installs. So our big advantages, the breathability is pretty much perfect in most climate zones. Its perm is just above 10. All layers UV stabilized, so much longer than most other products. It can be used in projects where you want to build inside or get finished. So you can apply this product to the exterior and you can then take your time with the rest of the finishes. And that's a common application for this product on commercial sites. Um, it has a split release backing on the back, so you can apply it in different parts. Extremely quick and easy to install, and is followed with a 10-year system warranty. So self-adhered products are somewhat new to the market, and we need to understand why people would use those. So one of the main reasons is we don't really want a space between the outer timber layer, the racking layer, and the membrane. That space in between a mechanically adhered product and the timber can allow moisture or water to build up and simulate failure from the outside in. The other thing is that we clearly don't need mechanical fixings for the products, so we dramatically reduce the penetrations or the weaknesses. Um, it's less likely to get torn on site through loose or flapping membranes, through winds or anything like that. And there's a certain amount of self-sealing because of that adhered layer. So altogether, you get this product that removes so many failure points that you see with a mechanically fixed product. Just to talk a little bit about the adhesive itself, we can't kind of say exactly what it is, but it's interesting. So it's an adhesive that has an optimized technology that allows it to focus on the durability. So it doesn't have the highest peel adhesion, tack, or cohesive strength, but it has, sorry, I should say it has the highest shear strength after 24 hours. So you apply the product, you apply the pressure, it reaches its highest shear strength, and after that, it doesn't really change. So not affected by water, UV, and you know that's both the adhesive and the membrane itself. In Partel, we talk a lot about monolithic or microporous products, so it's not enough just to focus or understand the adhesive that you use. What's the film like on the top, and how durable is that? How is it made? So there's testing for standards, and I think that's key to know that while the material is compliant, and all materials are compliant, for a material to be just to meet compliance isn't really enough. So those standards are typically kind of watered down. And in Partel, we're looking at products that last 10 or 15 times longer than your standard or cheaper products. Um, that's usually through this monolithic layer. This appears in different forms in some of our products, but essentially it's a solid layer that can transfer water vapor from the interior to the exterior in a molecular way, rather than through fissures or holes created in a microporous layer. Microporous products are dominant or far more common in the market, but they have real weaknesses that affect the durability of the building and the product. So in terms of how we fit it and what types of surfaces, it will bond without a primer to most construction materials, again, removing a step that we don't really need. So that is to apply onto all of our wood-based products, metals, plastics, gypsum boards. If it's a very porous product, you should use a primer, but that could be like a wood fiber or something like that. We do advise localized adhesion tests, but yeah, it's temperature range down to -15 makes it quite open as to where it can fit. It is tested as a part of a system with the Passive House Institute. I'll talk a little bit more about this in the presentation later on, but it's primer plus membrane achieving a tested standard for airtightness. It's going to look about what it means to apply these products and how they're actually applied. You can see the installer in this instance, he's marked the line first. One release liner has been taken off, and that allows you to pin or hang the membrane from the OSB and then start to roll it into place. Because of the way our adhesive works and it increases in strength over time, it actually gives you a chance to reposition the product while you install it. Hopefully my video will play. The videos are quite satisfying to watch. It's very hard to get it wrong. It always looks good when it's applied. Yeah, pretty simple, really. So be it on-site or factory applications, it makes it quite easy. You see it here in a desert situation, but it's used quite a bit in factories as well. So same idea, very kind of uncomplicated to install. So it's often used in factories to protect elements like a floor cassette or a wall panel. So these types of products, they fit equally to the multifamily home, to the detached or single house, but also for the high rise. And we're actually seeing them used in all types, even the commercial projects like the hospitals, schools, that kind of thing. The product has a perm, 13 perms. Its temperature resistance is pretty much unlimited. And actually, we've discovered this in that first project I showed there was the applications in Arizona in summer was pretty interesting. So we had wall temperatures, I'll quote Celsius here, but quite high, 70, 80 degrees, that kind of thing. But again, our adhesive isn't really affected by temperature. So is, I think, the best solution for varied climate conditions. So our 10-year system warranty, I don't know if that's that common in the market or not, but it's something we're kind of happy to stand behind. It's always part of the system, so you're using all of the Partel products altogether. Um, I want to talk you a little through the range. So if we start at the product EXOPERM 150, EXOPERM Mono 150, so this is usually a good step over the quality of the products you might be using generally in the market. The next product we look at is EXOPERM Mono Duro 200. This product is a little different. It's got a smooth surface and essentially it has the monolithic layer on the top. Its big difference is that it is essentially permanently UV stable. So this can be used for open joint facades, or if you're concerned that the project isn't going to be closed in for a long time. Um, or actually, if you want to make that step towards having a membrane itself that we don't really know its lifespan yet. We know it's 70 plus years, and it's hard to age. It's hard to age a product that doesn't show aging. So that's what this type of product is for. It's your next level. It also has enhanced fire protection, I should say. So we've got lots of install videos about how to fit these products correctly. I'm not going to play this now, um, but it'll go through all of the details, how we should fit it, the good things to watch out for, some tips and tricks. I can't turn the sound off, so I'll skip it. But they're really helpful and they might sound simple. They're a little uncomplicated as to how we might do it, but it shows how to deal with sealing around fixings and battens and things like that. So areas that we don't always look at that we really should be more aware of. For example, we will often get questions in winter when there's high rain. You know, we've got a problem with your membrane, and you ask for some photos, and you know they show you water ingress at the where people have used a pneumatic gun and it's got lots of holes in it and water is running through the holes. But there's actually easy ways to fix that as part of the install. So we're going to look at some of the system products associated with this. Vara Plus is a unique product range to us. So it's a complete variable, smart or intelligent system. We have all products in it capable of giving us the same function. So that's the sheet applied goods, the fluid, and a range of tapes. So if we want that variable perm figure, we can have it. And from a specification point of view, it works really well. You can say to use the Partel Vara system. It allows the contractor to choose the appropriate one relative to how he wants to do it. By way of a short refresher on that, the variable products are a range of products that allow us to, I suppose its permeability is adaptive. So we treat it like a human skin. It can change. So in wintertime, typically in a cold climate, it'll become vapor tight. In summertime, it'll become vapor open. So they give us an enhanced drying potential. So a slight extra cost, but a smart product to specify. There's a range of tapes that you will start to get familiar with. So we have the VaraSeal that we just looked at. Connexo is to connect the EXOPERM range that we're looking at. Nice simple name. Kineso, same ideas to connect our EXOPERM. It's an interior tape, an exterior tape, and a variable tape. We also offer a range of pre-compressed tapes. The one you're looking at here is also a variable tape. So looking at those lines here, we've introduced the Vara Plus technical membrane into the pre-compressed tape. They're a smart way to finish our window. If you return the EXOPERM 250 around the window, you can use these and just these as your final airtight or weathertight seal. I'm going to quickly show the fire-rated system. This is I suppose, a somewhat new range from us, but some of the products that we're talking about today are in there, and they have fire retardant products. So the EXOPERM Mono and 250 can help to fire retard, or we have completely non-combustible products, both breathable and vapor tight, together with application foams, sealants, and non-combustible tapes. I included this short video just to show maybe a difference on what this means. We'll play all three at the same time, if they will. So we see a typical membrane, what happens? It's this class or this type of product. If we don't specify something different, essentially there's something that contributes to fire. So they will accelerate the burning and cause a flashover and bring it from one location to the next. The monoduro, while it's not non-combustible, you'll see that it doesn't ignite and it won't cause a flashover. So we've got some customers who like to use this on all of their projects because of that, because of the risks with typical construction work, because they've had incidents. So someone starts a fire and suddenly there's a lot of damage done. You know, the membrane can give you that kind of protection. And then when we move into non-combustible, that video could play for hours. It doesn't really change. Um, these kind of products have started to become more prevalent. For us, when we found the market change in Europe, the thermal bridging range was what came after airtightness. So airtightness, weather sealing, thermal bridging. So we do quite a bit with that. We're extremely active. This particular product is called Almavert. It's completely recycled, so 99.5% produced from plastic bottles. So a recycled PET. It's a structural insulation, so you only use it where you have to have a weight on it. So that's most common underneath a window or a door, which is a pretty tricky area to deal with without using this type of product. You can treat it like a piece of hardwood timber. That's in terms of how you use it, how you machine it. It's sold in sheet form, so a very easy product to specify in a job and also for the GCs to understand. We'll talk a little bit about testing, what that means to us, and this is kind of a growing list for us. Every 6 months, it seems that we're doing more testing, or there's another range of tests. So I have a feeling that this will be an endless one for us. So new products, new testing in different regions. So we're active with all of these organizations. There's quite a bit in it, and this ranges from formal testing for compliance to also for durability testing, things that we're undertaking to, if you like, ignore the construction regulations and challenge them from our side to see where they really should be. Most of our key products are also tested in the Passive House Institute, and you'll see some lovely figures from those. This is for the Vara fluid spray. It's got a 0 figure. I think there's only 2 products in the database that have that, and the rest of our products are large by comparison, but they're 0 as well. So they're all essentially 0, and they used to have a nice way of presenting that where you could judge the products based on their permeability testing. You can't see that anymore, but we would have taken 3 out of the top 5 places, and it's actually a good judge of the quality of the airtight system. You'll see here an idea of a tape test in 180-degree peel test and what that means. This type of test is really set up in a way that we induce a load on the tape to simulate what might happen in a building. So it's never a sharp pull, it's always a slow, regular pull, and we'll always induce failure. That's the idea. So you take it to failure and you find out what was the failure. But really, what did it give before it failed? So here we're looking at, maybe an inch and a half in this instance of flexibility that was provided by both the adhesive and the tape. So much more than we'll ever encounter from a typical joint like that. So going back to the Passive House Institute, you'll see the EXOPERM Plus system, the mono that we're talking about today. These will name a lot of other of the tapes and membranes that we're looking at today. So it's not just the membrane, it'll be a full system. They're tested with timber, with masonry, with concrete. So quite a wide variance and a nice way to have a validation of everything that we're looking at. I want to take the chance to talk a little about the specifications and building physics. So again, we do quite a bit with this. We're happy to provide construction details. How should you layer these products? If you want to look at it for a particular climate, do you want some advice on that? We can and do quite often run WUFI analysis to understand maybe a complex construction. This was using the EXOPERM 250 in New York. But essentially, we're looking at for example, this type of build-up shows flat roof construction with some PU insulation, then the EXOPERM 250, our plywood, cellulose, and Varaplus, so a full system. And the idea here was to understand what's happening with the overall water content. And we always know that that's not enough. We need to get into the layers and decide what the real risk layer is. So for this type of construction in a flat roof, the risk layer is the plywood layer, the engineered timber, because that's where the moisture or associated with the air leakage will accumulate. So this is the plywood board zoned out or picked out of WUFI. We can see that it's got a really healthy drying curve. The Vara Plus is part of that, and it's averaging out about 12%. So this type of construction is one that we modeled, adjusted, and you end up with a safe situation that the timber dries quickly to a normalized moisture content. Same applies for walls. I won't get into this one in full detail, but same idea. We're looking at in fact, this one was where we changed the exterior board to something more vapor open to end up with a healthy moisture content on the outside. So for availability of these product range, I should say it's all across the US and Canada and most European countries as well. I want to take a look at some projects and maybe where the product was applied. This is I suppose, a second project in Arizona, so not maybe our typical ecological passive house, something a little different. But the reason I show this is because what actually happened with the system and when we applied it, initially it was part of a trial project, so quite a challenging climate. Ours isn't the only product applied to this project, so it's not always an image I'd show, but what was interesting for us was ours was the only product applied at the end of the project. The others did not stay in. So this was project one. Our product has been used on repeat in this region since then. So it was able to withstand the sun or the UV exposure, remained in place. So a really kind of tough place to validate, but good to see it. So because there's other products in that, I won't go into it in too much detail, but there was a number. A pretty different type of project here. This is Brooklyn brownstone. I love these jobs because they look amazing when they're finished. I'm going to show a video actually of this just to show the reality of what the applicator is. So the applicator was Kevin Brennan in this instance, and I've got huge respect for these guys and what they do, but just to give an idea, they were essentially dealing with brick in party walls and internal walls that looked like this, so almost open, these incredibly difficult joists to seal. The Passive House Institute are carrying out a new component, or I suppose a new element of testing where they'll try to simulate these, and we're working on that with them, but they definitely don't create a standard one such as this that we have to seal. But you can see Kevin applying the Varapluid in this location. He does work at something like that speed, but it's just to give an insight of the reality of what you're dealing with. really, really tough situations. So this is the same project. You can see that there's a real mix of grommets, of membranes, tapes, a box for the windows, all kinds of sealing details. So they really have everything in it. And here you'll see him prepare the window for an airtight installation. So he's built a box for the window, and it's a pre-application of a Varseal X tape onto the window. So they got below 1 in this job, but kind of hats off to them for that level of detail that went into it. So you can see Kevin doing small things like, or that look easy, but um, creating loops on the corners so that there's room to seal when that window is applied into the rough opening. This is just to show maybe some variation, a tower in Manhattan with the Vara fluid again, which was used because of its speed on all of the party walls. And yeah, maybe some more variations. So coastal in the UK. So in this instance, it's a cool project. It's completely CLT. This one was built during COVID, actually, and they had specified wood fiber on all of the exterior, but there was real supply issues. So we worked through a system with them where they could use I-beams outside the CLT, use a full cellulose install outside of that, and then the EXOPERM MONO Duro, because of its kind of location, they didn't want to take any chances with durability. And then back to Ireland, where we'll see this type of product be quite common, Vara Plus, because of the enhanced drying capacities needed on the roof, Isoperm Plus on the walls, and the EXOPERM Mono 150 on roofs and walls to the exterior. And back to the US here, this is Vermont in a cold climate. It's the EXOPERM Mono 150 again. Retrofit and extension, really complicated build, cellulose, all the membranes in place again, and air tightness of below 1. I started to prep this slide and think about some of the associations that we work with, and I'm sure I'm missing half of them, but there's a lot here. So we're really active and involved with, I suppose, all of the various passive house associations, the excellent work that they do at the accelerator. Same in the UK and Ireland, Passive House Plus. But generally from Partel, what you can expect is a system and product warranties. I suppose honesty with specification. Same with questions. If you've got questions to ask us, a really heavy amount of product testing that's internal and external. We've got a huge lab with all of our own test equipment that matches, if you like, what's in the best labs in the world. We're working on projects with universities using that. We're all trained to use WFI, R values, U values, and provide a lot of specialized bespoke CPD seminars if that's the type of thing you need. So don't know how I've done on time, Zach, but happy to
Perfect.
switch over to any questions.
Yeah, no, this is fantastic. Thank you very much, Hugh. Great presentation, and we have lots of questions. We've got 97 people here, so great
Great.
crowd. Thanks for everyone for being here. And so I think we can dive into those questions. So Kevin Connors, I think you're up first. If you're here, can you unmute yourself and ask your question?
I think I asked Sorry, I think I asked a couple of questions, but
Yep.
there's a liner with the peel and stick, and someone else asked also if that's biodegradable. I'm wondering if it's recyclable.
Yeah, it's definitely recyclable. It's a PET liner. There's two types of liners we use, but it's completely recyclable. I understand your question that biodegradable is hard because you need a product that has some kind of treatment on it that won't or that will separate from the adhesive. There is actually, Kevin, there's some products we use where we can siliconize the coating. That's in some of the tapes where we can remove the liners. So where that's possible, we're doing it. So you'll see that as a Connexo Quick Seal on our website. But for this type of product, it's just not possible to siliconize that because we want it to you're kind of making the membrane be. We're making the so distracted there. So yeah, if you make the membrane something that you can pull the adhesive off, then it won't stick to itself long term. So it's a little bit of a, we can do as much as we can. We provide an EPD with the products as well. I think it is important to remember our products in particular, and they are absolutely insignificant in terms of the carbon associated with the building. So we need to be realistic and say this product, yeah, it's got that plastic that it needs it, but it's going to be something that gives life to the building, double what it might be from something else.
Thank you, Kevin. Kevin, do you want to go ahead and ask your question about the open joint system and application there while we're at it?
Sure. My question was, is the white graphics for the product, can you cover that somehow for the open joint system?
Yeah, we supply it also without a print. So for open joint system, you have that option.
So Carlos asks, can Hugh discuss window details, sealing around windows, compatible materials, sealants, etc.? He discussed a compressed tape. How is this installed within the window frame, rough out opening? Thanks.
Okay. Yeah.
Yep.
So the pre-compressed tapes are something that can replace a mastic and backer rod. They've got two forms. That can be one that's used on the outside only. Typically, that's about 1 inch in thickness, and that creates a shadow gap around the window. It's applied by fitting it to the window just before it's inserted into the opening. Then over a period of 24 hours, that pre-compressed tape expands, fills the gap, makes it airtight and weather tight. So a fairly simple product to install. The key with those is to use the right product for the right opening. So if you have 1 inch of an opening, your tape should be something that is designed to close 1 inch. So there's a mix of different sizes available on the website. But yeah, very smart and simple system. They aren't designed for standing water, so you do need to overflash on the sill pan level as well, if that makes sense.
Great. Thank you. All right. Next up is Michael McNaught.
Good morning. Just
Yeah.
wanted to check on the availability in Canada for the product in terms of the standards and ratings to get onto buildings.
Availability is good. There's a distribution partner. They trade as Partel Canada, so everything would be the same. And the standards are pretty uncomplicated in terms of compliance. That's something that's being finished at the moment. So I would say in the next, by mid-January, something like that. It seems like that law will be in place.
Thank you.
I'd be
Great.
happy to share details after this as well for contact.
Excellent.
Thank you.
Thanks, Michael. Okay, next is Mackenzie Stickney. Hey, Mackenzie. Maybe Mackenzie. It looks like maybe Mackenzie had to go. I don't see her on the list now. So I will ask the question. And that is, does the membrane self-heal around penetrations? And how would you seal behind a rain screen batten?
Okay, so I think that's two questions. So
Yep.
around penetrations, I would recommend that we use products like the cab seal. So they're products that are designed for all of those penetrations. So if it's a 2-inch penetration, there's a 2-inch cab seal product. So they're all made for those sizes. They're the right way to seal a penetration. You can do it with tapes as well. Technically, you could use a membrane, but it would be quite a difficult install. So I would use the correct products for it. It's much easier and more certain. In terms of sealing behind a rain screen batten, so if you're screwing battens through, they will self-seal as you screw them. If it's people using, gas guns, they tend not to seal, so you would need to use something like the Conlex butyl onto the back of the batten, and that will self-seal. So there is another option if you need it.
Excellent. Thank you. All right. Next is Chris Brown. Chris asks, Hugh, can you discuss what kinds of exterior sidings and finishes you prefer to be used?
Okay. Yeah. So for rain screens, I'm assuming this is for Chris. We actually don't mind. So the main thing is if you get the membrane spec correct behind it and you provide an air gap, I think then it's okay. it should be quite open. It's more down to the durability of the product, but usually when you switch to a rain screen, we really should be looking at the durability of the membrane. So it's going to get exposed. It's going to have some extra work to do. And lifespan of the building isn't about the siding. It's about the membrane behind it. You can replace the siding, but if the membrane gets damaged or the structural wall behind that, that's a whole other problem.
Excellent. Thank you. And then we have another question from Carlos, and Carlos was not able to come on before, so I'm going to go ahead and ask it for you, Carlos. Oh, maybe.
Sorry, I'm back.
Oh, great. Hey, Carlos.
Thank you.
Yeah.
We really dealt with the water resistant barrier and the air barrier. Do you then apply your product just on the outside to do both, or do you still need an air barrier, or does it depend on the condition of the site? I was a little confused about that.
Yeah, it's a good question, Carlos, and it's not one answer for all locations, unfortunately. There's some subtleties in it, but depending on where you are, so if we talk about the Arizona region, that can be okay on the exterior only. If you're in a cold climate, you'll need an air barrier on the interior as well. I think the safest thing to do, Carlos, is just to reach out to us and tell us, Hugh, I'm in this location. This is how I want to build. And we can give you a quick answer, or have a typical detail, but it does vary based on the climate.
Thank you.
Great. Thanks, Carlos. I think that may do it. I think we've made it through the questions, so I think we're ready to wrap up. Hugh, really fantastic presentation, and thank you for sharing the Partel's products, and a big thank you to you and to Partel for the founding support of the Passive House Accelerator from the early days, and everything we do is thanks to support from folks like you. So it makes a big difference to us and our work. So, and great. I also want to say thank you to everybody for being here. A great crowd today, and I know we're getting close to the holiday break, so it's really wonderful to see everyone show up and ask such excellent questions. Hugh, do you have anything else you want to add before we close up?
No, same as you. I would say thanks to everyone for joining, and yeah, I guess as we get into the holiday season, hope everyone has a good time, but that's just around the corner now. So yeah, we weren't sure how many would attend as that gets closer. So yeah, thanks to everyone.
Yeah, thanks so much.